the difference in the Lakers between the first and second half? Let's break it down. LeBron and AD scored just 11 points on, get this, 16% shooting in that first half. Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins held them to 2 for 15 from the field. The second half was a different story. LA star duo combined for 36 points on 64% shooting. They also combined for 7 assists and just 1 turnover in the second half.
Oh, the big games bring out the biggest of names. Stephen A. Smith here. It's been a minute. Actually, it's been a year and a minute. All right, what's your big takeaway?
How lucky the Los Angeles Lakers are that they won this basketball game. The fact of the matter is LeBron James and Anthony Davis were far from impressive in the first half. When you look at Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, the defense that they were playing on LeBron James and Anthony Davis was superb, especially against Anthony Davis. I still think LeBron James wasn't 100%, but he went into his bag and handled his business in the second half, and credit due to him. With greatness comes luck. And that lucky shot with 58 seconds left, make no mistake about it, that was luck. But in the end, again, because you're so great, he's entitled to that. It was a big-time shot over Steph Curry, and you sort of look on Steph Curry's face. So what you peel from it is the fact that, again, Anthony Davis needs to get his game going, because playing like he did, if they have a first-round series against Phoenix or another playoff series against anybody else, that kind of performance is not going to work. It's not going to get you over the hump. He needs to be better. Outside of that, Steph Curry, we know he's special. We were reminded about that tonight. It was a big stage. You had the odds stacked against him. You saw the Lakers swarming him. They didn't even think about guarding anybody else in the last seconds. Just keeping the ball out of his hands and daring anybody else to shoot was their strategy, because he went into his bag all night long, and he was absolutely positively sensational. Again, he just did not have any help whatsoever when it really, really counted.
All right, you mentioned Phoenix. That's who Laker gets first round. What's your first thoughts of that matchup?
That Phoenix will lose the series. And that Phoenix will lose the series because they're relatively young. I love their athleticism. I love the leadership of Chris Paul. I love me some Devin Booker. Monty Williams is my coach of the year. They've got a squad, but they got a relatively young squad that's inexperienced. And when you're going up against the experience of a LeBron James, well, along with Anthony Davis, that has a 7-game series to prepare for you, I think it's going to be a pretty tall task for Phoenix to overcome. But I'm still looking for somebody other than those two on the Lakers to really step up. Alex Caruso hit all 5 of his shots in the first half, but shot like 1 for 7 in the second half. They reminded him of who he was, who he is, and who he's supposed to be in the second half. Kyle Kuzma, where were you? Things like that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hit a couple of threes early in the game, but as the games progressed, you needed to see more from him. You didn't get that. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not going to be enough for this team to come out of the West. Somebody else is going to have to step up, because the other teams they go against aren't going to have just one weapon like Golden State had in Steph Curry. Somebody else is going to have to step up to get it done for them. And that's really what it comes down to.
Lakers are favored against the Suns. Okay, you can tell us something that very few of us know. What's it like to be back in the Staples Center watching an NBA game with fans? There was about 6,000 there. Put us inside.
It's special. It's special. No question about it. And obviously, it was an aberration because we're accustomed to seeing 18,000, 19,000 fans inside of Staples Center. We get that. That's not the case as of yet. But when you've gone the last year without seeing any fans, to be in an arena with fans in attendance, you get, your hair sort of stands up on your skin. You get a little goosebumps. You start feeling that there's a return to normalcy that's coming sooner than later. It would not surprise me at all as the playoffs progress if we saw capacity in arenas exceeding 50, maybe even 70%. I think Utah is taking the lead on that, and I think you'll see other cities follow, where you'll see more fans in attendance late June, early July, particularly if people go out there and get yourselves vaccinated. I was in the media section. All of us were vaccinated, so we were allowed to sit together. It was a beautiful thing. Let's stop acting like we're going to get through this without getting vaccinated. We need to get vaccinated.
Excellent. One-word answer. Who wins, Warriors or Grizzlies?
Warriors.
All right. You heard Stephen A. talk about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis did not have a good first half, finished with a strong second half. He's on SportsCenter. After the game, the Lakers are your 7th seed. Play in, they're in. Man, I'm standing between Stephen A. Smith and Big Perk right now. I'm ready to run the 3-man weave. I think we got a team. Curry and James have met a total of 39 times, 22 of those coming across 4 finals matchups. James has posted Gaudier numbers, first time I've ever said Gaudier, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, and actually owns a 9-7 wins advantage in regular season meetings. When you include the playoffs, Curry's Warriors have won more thanks to a 15-7 edge in the 4 finals matchups.
Joining us now on SportsCenter, ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler. And Legs, it seemed like when this game got going, the Warriors felt already battle tested, right? Playing games that meant something down the stretch in the regular season. The Lakers, they just seemed the switch wasn't on yet. Talk to me about the difference in LA comparing the first half with the second half.
Well, the biggest difference was, first of all, their defensive intensity in the third quarter. They got a lot of deflections. They used their length and size to create some turnovers. Golden State got sloppy with the ball. But where they really turned the game was on the other end of the floor. Power basketball. The one biggest difference between these two teams, flat out size. And the Lakers have an advantage at virtually every position. And when you look at the beginning of that fourth quarter, they start out with a lob dunk to AD, a post up by Kuzma on a baseline out of bounds play, 2 driving layups by LeBron James. So they came down and very determined. And to me, that's where they took control of the game. They were reeling a little bit. If Golden State pushes that out to 12, 14 points there in the beginning of the fourth quarter, it's a wrap. So instead, the Lakers focused on what their advantage was against this team. It's flat out physical power in the paint. That's what they got back to, triggered by the turnovers. That's where they turned it. And then obviously it's going to get into some back and forth and big shot making down the stretch. But I thought the Lakers took control of the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter on the offensive end of the floor.
Speaking of big shot making, Legs, LeBron James saved his best for last, his game winning, really the go ahead bucket, game winner, 3-pointer. Said he was seeing 3 rims at the time after being poked in the eye by Draymond Green. Take us through that big shot by LeBron James that won it.
Yeah, and it shows you how far LeBron James has come throughout the course of his career for a shot like that, because that's not luck. He caught that, he squared up, he knocked it down. There was a time in LeBron James' career earlier when that was just not something that was in his repertoire. And now, despite the fact that he really wasn't a force from the perimeter in this game, he's able to knock down that shot, the biggest shot, the backbreaker for the Lakers. And for me, when I look at the Lakers, and I'm glad LeBron used that analogy about a prize fight, because that's how I view this team. With AD out as much as he was, LeBron out, and this team trying to find some cohesion here at the start of the postseason, Linda, all they had to do was avoid the knockout punch early. And if they had lost tonight, you're talking about a 1-game situation on Friday night where the Lakers could have been eliminated from the postseason altogether. They just had to avoid that. And now they can take a sigh of relief. They're going to get into a 7-game series. And I expect this team now to get better and better each and every night, each and every series as this playoff goes on. This would have been catastrophic to the Lakers to find themselves in a one-night play-out situation, basically, to find themselves on the outside looking in. They avoided that. And now they'll start to find their cohesion and rhythm, because they haven't had a lot of it going down the stretch of the season. And LeBron James' 3-pointer now has enabled them to get into a best of 7 where ultimately you expect talent to win out.
And there were over 6,000 fans very happy at leaving Staples Center on Wednesday night, watching their Lakers win and move on to the real NBA postseason. Tim Legler, thanks so much as always.
Thanks, Linda.
All right, we talked about the difference in the Lakers between the first and second half. Let's break it down. LeBron and AD scored just 11 points on, get this, 16% shooting in that first half. Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins held them to 2 for 15 from the field.